Number one show at late night, nothing but illustrious guests. Miro, who do we have in the virtual building today?
Super producer of various millennial hits of the whatever. It's Judd Apatow, ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, Judd.
That's
How's
it.
it going, man?
That was the dream intro I always wanted. That was it.
No, everybody's like, ladies and gentlemen, film producer Judd Apatow. Now you got like a fire one for your sizzle reel.
Was that the intro you dreamed about as a child in Syosset?
Yes. You know, Syosset, the people never talk about Syosset.
They never talk about the 11791, all right?
That's right.
They don't talk about Natalie Portman growing up there.
That's right.
Talk about the GOATs. Talk about the legends.
The legend Billy Joel.
Idina Menzel.
Yes. Name those names.
Everybody from Rents went to Syosset. We don't know why, but they were all there.
Oh, nothing but legends. Syosset is what PG County is to the NBA. So we thank you.
Yes. Tough shopping center town. That's what my friend J.J. Wall used to say.
Oh, man. Judd, we just saw your new movie with Pete Davidson. Fantastic movie, but I'm biased. Sure. We know Pete. But what was it like working with Pete? And that movie was just so... It was, if you know Pete Davidson, that movie was like a day with Pete Davidson. Like you got the essence of him. You got everything he is about. How did you get that translation from real life onto the digital?
Well, most people, when you write a movie with them, they will not let you write certain things. People will say, I'll go this far, but not that far. I'm not going all the way. And Pete was like, let's completely tell the whole story. I'll hold absolutely nothing back. And that's pretty rare. That's why I think the movie is special, because he's being so honest. He's opening his heart up and being so vulnerable, but he's also hilarious.
Yeah.
That you could feel it. Like when you watch the movie, you could tell, like, Pete's not kidding. This is what he's really feeling.
Yeah.
What's it like working with like Pete is like, he does done SNL. Bill Burr's like a stand-up guy. When you get those different types of comedy together, like how do you make that? How do you mesh that together, like in a film?
Well, Bill did an episode of Crashing with Pete Holmes.
Right, that was a dope.
And I would watch the dailies, and I was like, Bill Burr is an incredible actor. So I just, in the back of my head, I thought, we got to do something with Bill. He's really gifted and hasn't done an enormous amount of stuff. And Pete, I didn't know exactly what his acting chops were like. And as soon as we started rehearsing, I noticed he's very natural, but he's not like most comedy people. He's not desperate to get a laugh.
Right.
He wants to be real. He's not sweaty. That's what we always say when someone's trying too hard. Like, oh, they're sweaty.
They're sweaty. Yeah.
And Bill and Pete are not that way. And they love each other. So as two people who hate each other in a movie, I thought it'll be fun because you can tell that underneath it, they care about
each other. Yeah, that's cool. In this pandemic era, as a filmmaker, what changes are we going to start seeing on sets? Because we're still recording from our homes. What's the future going to be like for making movies? Like, or have you even approached that yet, or just wait and see?
I really don't know, because a movie set is, in the best of times, the most unhealthy place on earth.
Right.
There's the craft service table that has nothing but red vines and deviled eggs, like everything about it. Half the crew is in terrible shape. And so everything that you do is like about people being in your face and makeup people touching you and people having to kiss. And so I'm not really sure how you can do it unless the testing is airtight and you really know if somebody is contagious. So there are people who are tiptoeing into shooting, and I think everyone else is watching to go, do these protocols work? Like, is this safe to do? I will be the last guy in the door.
Right.
Trying. I'll let other people. Yeah.
You'll do CGI first before you put anybody at risk.
I think it might be that it's all green screened and everyone is just connected in post, but no one ever actually met before.
Right. Oh man, this doesn't get brought up enough. You were a staff writer on one of the most illustrious shows ever in the history of television, The Critic. It stinks.
It stinks.
That show is so huge to me and Miro. So what was it like? That's the thing. People come on this show and they're like, "Oh, I have a multi-million-dollar movie opening worldwide next weekend." We're like, "No, let's talk about what you made in 1993." Yeah.
Yes, The Critic. Well, for the people who don't know The Critic, which I assume is almost everybody watching right now, it was John Lovitz, the brilliant John Lovitz, as
The GOAT.
kind of a Roger Ebert type critic who was, had adopted parents who were incredibly rich and waspy, and he was very like Jewish, and it was all the guys from The Simpsons. After a few years of The Simpsons, Mike Reese and Al Jean created the show, and James Brooks produced it. It was like my second or third job. I was the only guy in this room of heavyweight Harvard writers, and I'm like this, college dropout, and I felt like such an idiot in the room because everyone was a genius, and I would make some filthy joke, like the not wittiest joke ever. And I remember one of the writers going, "Judd, you've outwitted us again."
What? Oh man!
And you're like, "Oh shit! Wait a minute!"
I was like, "Come on, Syosset in the house."
There you go. There you go. Represent. Represent.
We're doing dick jokes. We can't do that on the Critic.
It's the Critic. Come on.
Listen, you've gone very far with dick jokes, my friend.
That's my bread and butter. My bread and butter. My
Has
dick
anyone
and
at any point in your career, like early on, came up to you and was like, "Yo, you can't continue doing these jokes"?
That's a good question. Some things just took a really long time to get made. When Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg wrote Superbad, I mean, we went almost 10 years before somebody would make it. Right. Because it was, about high school, and it was filthy. And we said to everyone, I think kids will get this. This is how they talk. And everybody said no. And I remember we couldn't get anyone to make it. So we added another producer to the project that we thought, well, maybe someone with more weight than me could get it done. Right. And then that guy got hired to be the head of Paramount Pictures. And we're like, they're going to make Superbad now because our producer's the head of Paramount. And the first thing he did as the head of Paramount was to tell us, I will not be making Superbad.
Wow.
I'm not coming out of the gate with this.
Wow.
With a veiny cock on a piece of paper.
Exactly. I can't take that to my corporate bosses. What will they say?
Have you found that's kind of like the case when you go to these meetings or whatever? I mean, that obviously now you're established, but like early in the game when you go to these meetings, there's like always like the older exec and like the younger guy who's there to like kind of be like, yes, that's cool.
I think that people, most of the people in the higher up positions don't know what's coming. They don't know how to get excited about something new. So I've been in every meeting where you say, I think Jim Carrey's the next guy, or I think Kevin Hart's the next guy, and they just go, we don't.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? I mean, I remember going to meet with Fox In Living Color and saying, we should make movies with Jim Carrey, right? And they were like, no, we don't think he's a movie star.
Wow.
And that would happen with every person who became big. There's a sea of bad meetings where someone didn't believe it could happen.
Yeah. Listen, we're familiar.
What's the biggest like fuck you that you could give to any producer that was just like, nah, we're not doing this? Like, for example, like Jim Carrey or like.
Well, I mean, I think they exist for everybody. I mean, every time we would cast a TV show, we would say, we think Seth Rogen should be the lead or Jason Segel, and we would get resistance, and it was really painful. It was the only thing that would really make me feel just devastated and break me was when I thought, I believe in this person, and these people don't actually even understand why they're great. We did a pilot in like 2002, and the cast was Kevin Hart, Jason Segel, and Amy Poehler and January Jones.
North Hollywood?
Yeah. And
there you go.
They didn't pick up the show, and no one even called and went, you know what, we're not picking up the show, but this cast is kind of incredible. Like, the whole thing went over their heads. They had no sense that they were sitting on everybody.
Wow. So what's it feel like now that you don't have to go through that? Now that you're like, this is who's going to be in the film. This is what I say. Let's make it happen.
Well, there's less stress when you at least can make a project the way you think it should be made.
Right.
We work with Universal Studios. We've worked with them for like 16 years. So, we have a great relationship. They get the joke. So if you say to them, I think, Pete Davidson and Bill Burr and all these people, Ricky Velez, Derek Gaines, like, and even if they don't know everyone, they trust us that we have a sense of who might be great.
How do you become part of this the Judd Apatow Circle? Like Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen. Are you accepting
I feel like it requires a Showtime. If you have a Showtime interview show of some sort, you know, you invite me on as a guest. Maybe like at the end of it, I get some of the free sneakers. It's sent to me at some point.
What size are you?
I'm an 11, and
cover these up. You're not getting none of my babies.
and then the relationship begins. I feel like this is the beginning of a relationship, a long one.
Is that how it works with you though? Like is it like organic, or is it more like, yo, bring this guy in, I've heard about him, or is it more just like word of mouth, like, you know, a circle of friends type of thing?
Well, sometimes you just meet somebody and you think that person's really funny. I remember when Seth Rogen did this movie with Owen Wilson, you, me, and Dupree, and Bill Hader was in it, and it might have been Bill Hader's first, you know, part in the movie, like a small part in the movie. Hilarious. And then Seth Rogen just called me one day and said, "Bill's gonna be one of our guys. I love this guy. He's the best. He's gonna be in everything."
Oh my god, so good.
I think he had that feeling about Jonah. He bumped into Jonah at the movies the night before he was auditioning for the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And every once in a while, you just meet someone, and I always say it's kind of like when you hear a new band or an artist, and instantly you're like, "I'm so in on this. I get this." That it's like that with a comedy performer. I mean, you just see someone, and you're like, "Holy crap!" and you get excited.
Yeah, that was definitely when we met Jonah. It was like immediately, like, "Yo, this guy is cool as shit." Like, you just know it. If you had to go back, what lesson did you learn that you wish you could go back and tell the younger version of you about Hollywood?
About Hollywood? Well, I used to really fight with people a lot. Like, I didn't know how to debate like the notes, like if someone had notes about how to make something better. And so I was working on a sketch show for it was the Ben Stiller show. So this was on the Fox network, and this friend of mine was a producer on In Living Color. And he said to me, he's like, "Judd, if the notes are bad, don't take them, because if you fail, they'll never say you failed because I gave you bad notes. You have to fail with the way you want to do it." But I didn't know what that meant. So when they gave me notes where they didn't really understand the sketches, they didn't get what we were doing, I would be belligerent. And I remember once I said to the guy from Fox, "Well, I'm not doing any of your notes. What happens now?" And
pull the plug, I dare you.
Exactly. And you know what? You know what happened?
They pulled the plug. I remember.
The plug got pulled. I don't know. It might have been being 89th in the ratings also was part of that. But it took me many years to understand how to have a constructive conversation and to find people who like what you do, who get you. Because some people will never get you. You have to find the people you can collaborate with.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, you might have been 89th in the ratings, but I was definitely watching every episode. I love that. The sock puppets shut your stinking trap. Oh my god.
Yes,
Skank. Oh man, yeah. I was devastated when it was fired. So I've been working with your Susio brand of comedy for a while, man. What do you have coming up? What are you working on? Because you said your schedule's free. Are you just chilling, or are you just in the kind of hiatus right now because of how the world is? What's going on?
The main thing that's really on the runway is I'm going to make a documentary about George Carlin with my friend Michael Bonfiglio, who I directed the documentary about Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden with. Yeah. So we're about to go deep down the George Carlin well, and
one of the goats.
His stand-up was so dark, and the last few years of his life, people thought like he's kind of losing his mind with how he sees the world in such a negative way. And now that we see the world how it is now, he feels like a prophet.
Definitely.
And so we're going to try to do something that talks about that.
Oh man, yeah. When some of his stand-up stuff, you see it now, and it's just like, was this written in 2020? Like it's so on the nose.
Yeah, he was the best.
Your catalog is deep. Is there one particular movie that you were like, yo, this is my baby, that you really had to fight to get made, or
has a special place in your heart?
Yeah,
it's hard because you're so attached. Every time anything gets made, you're so attached to it. Like lately, King of Staten Island means so much to me because now that it's come out and people like it, I'm so proud of Pete for having the courage to put himself out there, because that's a risk. I mean, what if the movie was terrible I mean, that's embarrassing if you say, here's my life and all my feelings, and you make
People
a
like,
terrible
boo,
movie
this shit
about
sucks.
it.
Get the shit out of
Your
here.
whack-ass life. Nobody wants to
Your
see
life
this shit.
sucks.
So
Shut
I mean,
up.
the fact that like people like it and the reviews were good, I'm just so proud of Pete for having the courage to do it. I think it takes a lot of generosity of spirit to offer yourself up like that, because it means a lot to people. A lot of people suffer. They have a lot of grief and trauma. And I think what he said to me is he wanted to make a movie that was like what Kid Cudi's music meant to him when he was young and he was struggling and having issues. He's like, I would listen to that music and I felt less alone. And it really helped me. And he wants this movie to do that. So as of right now, that's where I'm at with my favorite movie.
I think you might have achieved it with this one, because it definitely is a tearjerker. It pulls on some heartstrings, and it's also funny. And Staten Island. Staten Island's cool. Staten Island, but it's no Syosset, okay? Don't ever get it twisted.
Right. Yeah.
It's not even Woodbury, I'll tell you that.
Woo! Fuck that song.
Oh! He said, you're worse than say. He said, Selden.
Oh, man. Judd, thank you for talking to us.
Yeah.
We know you're a busy man, so we're going to let you go. But every illustrious guest on this show gets a neon sign. What would you like your neon sign to say?
Maybe just your names. So it could be right behind me. DESUS MERO.
There we go. Judd, thanks for chopping it up with us.
Gentlemen.
Gonna be up
All right,
there,
take care,
over
guys.
there. Yo, Judd, thank you so much. Continue making
Thank
great
you.
Susio movies and doing the dick jokes.
We love it.
Yeah.